standing when we get up.
I'm really short-staffed down there. There we go. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. This is the Board of Selectmen meeting for Wednesday, January 10th, 2018. This meeting is being shown live on Channel 9 and is also being recorded and will be shown throughout the week on Channel 9. Okay, with that, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Chairman, while we're standing, I would like to mention the passing of Mildred Hatton and Dorothea Souza. Mildred Hatton, for many years, resident of North Dayton, was town accountant in Rehoboth. I didn't know Mrs. Souza, but at this moment I would like to ask a moment of silence in their memory, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Do we have any public input? Nope. Okay.
Thank you.
You're up, Chief.
All right. So I'm just here to discuss some items that came up in a meeting that Selectman Zagrafis and I had on November 12th. Basically, we talked about, the conversation kind of more started as upgrades that we need in the fire department as far as telecommunications, internet, emails, just trying to bring the department up to this century. We're operating behind in the times as far as I'm concerned, and I think to make the department function better, we need to move forward. So I have a bunch of things in this discussion that Brett and I had. We talked about a litany of items. So I just have a few things that I wrote down that I want to discuss with the board and lay out there for my plans and where I see the department in the future.
And just so you know, Chief, I did distribute the report to Town Administrator Aaronstein and my colleagues as well. We've all read it.
Okay. So number one, first and foremost, the most important thing to me is department restructuring. As you know, I've started with promotions. My first one was last week at this, that was recognized last week. As of January 1st, Steve Ponce is now the Deputy Chief of the Dayton Fire Department. He'll be a great asset. I look forward to working with him. But I need to move forward and restore my chain of command and the structure within the fire department. At this time, I'd like to promote a captain and a lieutenant at each station, but I need to figure out who those people are. The deputy and I are going to work through those promotions through a process. So that's the first thing that I'll be working on very aggressively to try to get structure back.
Can I ask you, was there structure there before, at some point?
There was structure, yeah. Let's put it this way. Right now, I have concern when I leave town.
Okay,
So
that's not a good thing.
that's I don't like that feeling.
And they
So,
were all called, right?
right.
And there were four,
Well, we have one full-time lieutenant.
right?
And then in the past we're talking about, we had a call deputy, a call captain, and a call lieutenant. So, but we all kind of worked together to make sure that there was somebody around all the time. So I just need that stability back. Number two would be voicemails and voice messaging, that type of thing within the department. Currently, we're using Post-it notes and papers. I came back to my office this afternoon, as a matter of fact, after I addressed an issue with a company in town with a sprinkler issue. I go back to my office and there was a Post-it note on the frame of my door. Now, I'm sorry, but
Let's move forward.
we need to have something a little better than that. I'd like to automate, we're coming into burning season, we're starting to issue permits. One of the things that inundates us and dispatch is when people call in for burning permits. There's some Saturdays and Sundays where there could be several hundred people
Sure, yeah.
calling in at 10 o'clock for the permission to burn. If we could have some type of a voice recording that they call in and yes, you have permission to burn, please leave your number and move on, that would be
Even
wonderful.
like on a website or something, just,
Anything, I'm
Automatic.
open to anything.
I know. I
Just-
thought that was kind of tedious in the past.
Yeah, and then, once you call in, my personnel say, yes, it's okay to burn, then they record your permit number into a book, and then it's kind of crazy, because if we have to see who's burning, and if they really have permission, we have to go back through the numbers and look at, it's a real antiquated system we need to improve on. The next thing is department emails. So right now, everybody in my department uses a personal email. That's really concerning to me.
That's not a good thing.
If anybody gets called on the carpet, so to speak, for anything that they did, it opens up their personal email to everything, and that's not okay. I have a medical director who is in constant communication with ComStar, with all these different medical agencies. There could be any point that he gets questioned on something, and he's susceptible to everything, and that's not okay. So,
That should be a priority.
yeah.
And just so you know, Chief, that's a very easy fix. Before Town Administrator Aaronstein came in, I sent Terminal Exchange an email. I said, please create this email address. It was done within a couple hours. So it's a very quick thing.
Right, and one thing I was going to say, Brett, that we had talked about, was we had talked about some general kind of emails. In thinking further, I'd like everybody to have an email, because we do so much communication via email. This day and age where everybody has it on their phone, we send out emails constantly on coverages, on the standby for the storm. So I would just like to see everybody in the department have an email. The next thing is ambulance billing. So right now, we do ambulance billing is contracted out to a company by the name of ComStar. I'd like to bring that back to the fire department. I'd like to hire a billing agent, somebody who's qualified, trained in billing. I'm working on a job description for that position from a contact that I made with Fall River EMS. Fall River does all their billing in-house, so Ms. Fonts in Fall River has been very accommodating and very easy to work with. She's supposed to be putting together a job description that she uses over there for her personnel. The discussion will be with the board and myself is how many hours and that type of thing. I think that I could use somebody to assist with more than billing. So from the numbers we have, the feeling is that the billing would be between 20 and 24 hours to do what we do for runs. So if it was an additional whatever to get a full-time person there, the 35 hours or whatever clerical hours are, I think that would be an asset to the department as well.
And that was 25 hours?
Yeah,
Okay.
for the runs that we do in a year,
Yep.
they figure it'd take somebody 20, 25 hours a week to process those runs.
But you're requesting in this plan for full-time 35,
Correct. Correct. So it would be a billing
Plus.
/ clerk, right. We did billing in-house, by the way, just to give you a little history. Billing was done in-house in the past, and I think that if you looked at some of the statistics from the past, it was very successful. So I think it would be good for this department to get it back. And then the next thing is just some replacement of stuff. So A2's getting old, tired. We joke about it, we call it Bristol County Mosquito Control, because it smokes like a train, and this year in the ambulance inspection, there was a few items that were brought up, really minor items, but stuff that could potentially grow to more concerning items. So A1's starting to get high on the miles, high on the hours, so it's time to look to replace it. So I think that I have started to form a committee, so that way the truck's designed by the people that use it. I will sit on that committee as a department head, but it will be designed by the personnel within my department that use it. And hopefully we can have a idea of where we're going with that for the annual town meeting. The next thing is the replacement of my cruiser. Car 1 has 140, I think it's 45,000 miles right now. I just don't want to see that car go to the point where it's not usable by anybody afterwards. So I'd like to keep that car within the department, use it as a deputy chief's vehicle or something like that, and replace that cruiser with something newer. And again, I'd like to see that on the annual town meeting.
Because you mean the Blazer?
The Tahoe, yes.
Tahoe.
Okay.
Tahoe, yeah.
Okay,
Which is a 2006, just to give you a...
okay.
You guys take good care of it, though, it looks great.
Yeah, it does.
look-
Yeah,
it does look
was-
nice.
It was very well taken care of in the past, and it still is, yes. So then, the next thing is I kind of have things in order, but it could jump around, because I wouldn't be hesitant against internet and network connectivity at the station. We need to be able to communicate faster with the server at the police station. We use IMC for all of our permitting, 26Fs, 26F and a halves, all the permits that the lieutenant does as far as sprinkler systems, fire alarm upgrades, all go through IMC at the police station through the server. And there's times where we try to sign into IMC at the station, we're waiting 15, 20 minutes. And then all of a sudden you'll get timed out and be booted out to only try to log back again, and you're waiting 15, 20 minutes. It's just really a crazy setup. It needs to be more efficient. That's embarrassing when I have somebody standing at the front window waiting for a permit.
So you want to have your own server? That's what you...
I have a server, but I have to communicate to IMC to use that software, and IMC servers in the police station.
So it's slowing it down going through the police department server? Because they're using it as well, right?
No, it's slow trying to get to it.
So you can't even get to it.
Right.
I understand.
So,
Is that internet, chief?
yes,
It's the internet connection in the station.
correct.
Okay.
Communicating to the police station.
The fire department would benefit from like a fiber optic line.
Correct.
that
We
is being talked
discussed
about,
that,
right?
yep.
So he needs a faster width to even do regular
Right,
Absolutely.
right.
business.
And we're not even talking about Station 2 yet.
I know.
So, because Station 2, eventually, we're not even using 1/4 of what IMC can do for us within the fire department. And I would like to start using.
What's IMC?
It's the software that the police and fire both use it. It's just a software that's used, police uses it for plates and all their payroll and all that stuff. We can do the same thing, but we can't because of the way the connection is.
Yep.
I would love to start using it for all that stuff, but right now, I can't sit and wait 15, 20 minutes for a connection, get kicked off, and keep playing the game, so.
And chief, is your goal to eventually, have like a laptop in your vehicle that can access IMC as well?
Yes, that was the next thing. So IMC is utilized by dispatch too. So dispatch, when an incident is dispatched, they could send us addresses, they could send us if there's locked box locations, they could send us hydrant locations, or all that can come up automatically depending on how it's set up within the system. So there's huge benefits to this and to my department that we're not utilizing that we should be.
Absolutely.
So what's it going to require to get that to work properly?
fiber optic connection, or some type of a better internet connection between myself and the police station.
Can I ask, Chief, is it, because it is South Dayton, and I have heard from, I have, friends that live in South Dayton, they say that the internet is slower there. Is it an issue of, even if we do the improvement, it's just gonna be slower because of the area that it's in? Like, I know fiber will be fast, of
Right,
course, because
right.
fiber is fast.
I will say that I have Comcast at my house, and I have Comcast at the fire station. There's a very extreme difference between the speed at my house and the speed at the station. I don't have the troubles at my home that I have at the station,
Is it
Yeah.
Comcast everywhere?
as far as I know, yeah.
Yes.
See, this is what I've talked about, that I've noticed at home. There is, and I'm in the north end of town. But it's almost like a dial-up Comcast over
Yeah.
Verizon thing
Yeah.
in some parts of town. It's weird.
Can I ask a question? Your router or any of the Comcast machinery, do you happen to know when the last time that was replaced?
I don't. Like, you mean like a modem
Right.
type of thing? I don't. No, I don't.
See, because that could be part of your problem.
That could be a huge
But
part of it,
Comcast-
but it's still not sufficient, but
I've
still,
gone to
Yeah,
three or
I've
four
had-
that they brought in.
yes.
I had Comcast out and they made some adjustments and it still didn't.
It didn't.
Have you ever had like a Comcast representative come out and take a look at like the wiring?
Yeah, that's what,
I agree with you that fiber network is necessary, but that's not, just because it hasn't even happened on this campus,
Right.
it will take some time. So I want to make sure that if there are any improvements that can be made to what you currently have while we're waiting,
right.
that if that's possible, we should look into that.
Right.
Have somebody come out and take a look at the wiring.
And somebody did come out and they did check things and make adjustments. Now, whether or not they checked the wires in the street to say whether that's legit, I can't answer that, I don't know. They did check the wires in the station and everything and thought that everything was fine, and didn't state whether or not the modem was upgraded
So,
or needed to be upgraded.
That's an avenue I would explore first, and like Selectman Goulart says, you don't always get a good one. They are refurbished or, taken from one person to another.
I was
and
having an
they're-
issue before with it.
Exactly. I don't know what they're doing with their inventory there, but I've been a victim personally of it, and it sounds like you have as well, and that could be,
Sure.
it's not a final solution. I
No,
agree with
it's an
fiber,
interim solution
especially for
while
public
we-
safety, but it's a quick fix that could improve the situation to be a little bit less cumbersome.
It just doesn't seem like it should be that big a
Yeah.
problem.
No,
Because it's the internet, it's Comcast, I mean.
right.
And you'd think it would be the same.
Well, I mean, yeah, you would think, but, you know.
You mentioned a laptop, you haven't said it yet. Is that in here on this list? A laptop for your vehicle?
I have a laptop for my vehicle.
Oh,
He
okay.
needs to have somebody, I don't mean to speak for you, but install the IMC on that laptop. That was the issue with it?
Right, and air cards. So there's no, when you're in the vehicle, you need that, like a mobile kind of connection. We don't have that.
What were you telling me about the iPads, bringing them out and how is this something in addition?
That's a
Sorry,
totally
we-
different,
Oh, okay.
that's something we're exploring for the ambulance that's gonna end up having, we're gonna do, so.
Good.
That's cool.
And then, yeah, so the tablets, or the laptops, I'd like to see in, basically all the trucks. So my Cruiser, front run engines, we already have laptops in both ambulances, so that's set up. The thing I wanted to do that Mallory's talking to is both ambulances, we have the option to do what is called triage, which is a app-based program that Stewart Hospitals puts out, who we transport to quite frequently, Morton, Charlton,
No,
St. Anne's.
Charlton.
St.
St. Anne's, I'm sorry, yeah. So triage is the ability for the paramedics or the EMTs to communicate to the ER staff via text message rather than via radio communication in the back of the truck. Now, the advantage to that, it's still not going to do away with the radio. The paramedic or the EMT will still have the option. But what it will do is give them the ability to take a photo of a car, if it's an MVC, and say, all right, this is what the vehicle looked like that this patient came from. This is what the passenger's compartment looked like. Send those over to the ER before we even get there. And they know what they're looking for as far as trauma. So it will do that. The other thing it will do is it will give us the ability to get a lot of books out of the ambulance that are currently there, binders with MSDS sheets, with NIOSH books, emergency response guide books, state protocol books. We can put all of that now and get all that in apps. And again, we're bringing ourselves into this century.
I
So
agree.
it's just things that we're looking at. And I think the iPad or a tablet is the way we're going to go for the future. And I can do that with the ambulance budget, and that's not a problem. It's just a matter of, we're discussing in-house what base we want to use, whether go iOS or meaning Apple or Android or like a
a big
Windows-based system.
Yep.
So that's what we're looking at now. Station 1, Mallory had the honor of coming down the other day to look at Station 1.
It was great. I loved it.
So, Station 1, I'd like to do some renovations of the day room. Brett and I had talked about that. Just trying to make the space, use as much of the space as we can that we have. Right now, I feel like there's a lot of unutilized space, and I think that just by changing some wall configurations, putting up some new walls, some new sheetrock, we can make the space a lot more usable, a lot more accommodating, and a lot more comfortable for the men and women that work there. The other thing of that would be, is if we bring billing back to the fire department, I'm gonna have to make a space for that person, so that would assist with that. And then eventually, maybe someday down the road, I don't know if I'd even wanna bring it up right now, but,
Can I ask you a question before we
Yes.
move on about the renovations?
Yes.
I totally agree with you. I also think just little improvements like insulation, it makes a big deal. It's cold in there. I can't imagine what it's like right now.
the side door was frozen. The other day.
What?
The side door was frozen. the
I
other day.
believe it. My question for you is, I understand that the department has done a lot of their own renovations.
Yep.
So I don't expect the department to continue to keep doing their own renovations. So you need assistance from the town, correct? Even if it's just reallocating space.
Yes and no, yeah. I mean, yeah. I think the funds wise,
Yep.
do I think that we could do a lot of it in-house? I think so, as long as we got Jim, the building commissioner, on board. I think we could do a lot of it in-house. I think there's a lot of pride and ownership, and I think there's a lot of pride within the department to say that we did it in-house. I don't want to volunteer for anybody and say that anybody wants to do it, but I have a lot of experience framing, and I wouldn't be afraid to put some of my own time in down there to help out to make it better for everybody. So,
Can I ask you a question? Your experience in West Bridgewater, did they renovate their own? I feel like this is unique. I've never heard of a department renovating their own space. Like, I don't understand.
I would say my experience with firefighters is that they're do what we need to do to get the job done. Just the general makeup of an actual firefighter. I like to see it as a person. I think it's nice seeing people reinvest into their own workspace. It gives them a connection to it. However, is it totally appropriate? Maybe not. The town should be there to support them, provide them with, but there's a line, depending on what it is. I mean, this is like a giant renovation, absolutely not, needs to be
Right.
Correct.
outsourced.
I just feel like, I don't want to speak for the department, but I feel like it almost sends the like,
It
when
does
when
send
you
the
had a couple renovations to make, we weren't like, hey, Mallory, can you go and
Go
sand
and-
your wall and
Yeah,
take the
exactly.
thing off? We didn't do that because we
Wouldn't have been done
invest.
well.
I talked to her about her skill in that area.
Yeah.
I can paint, that's about it.
I think.
Me too.
No, I agree, and it does send a message, inadvertently,
value
I
them.
think, that we want to
They're
take care
public
of our.
safety officials. I just feel like it's taking away time. Not, I know you would manage it properly, obviously, but I just feel like it's taking time from their actual job, which is to be the face of public safety in town
Well,
and
to
respond and help
respond to
people.
emergency. Yeah,
And
I mean,
think-
it's
I think we should listen to what you propose, because some of it you can do, some of it you can't do. And we don't want to put you in a position where it drags out for years trying to get it done.
right. Believe me, if the town wants to pay to outsource it, I'm all for it.
Right.
We can talk about
It is what it is. We
And
can,
your department has already done a lot. If anybody's had the opportunity to go there, it's all over the place what
I
they've
think the other
done.
thing too is just the fact, the way you have brought that department together. If there are employees there that say, Chris, I can do that. Now, obviously, the bell rings, they're gone. But if there are people who really want to contribute to that, it's not an assigned task, but if somebody says, I can do that, Chris, I know how to do that,
right.
I would encourage it.
I also
I'll
think
come
that's
down
a
and
very
take it.
nice hallmark of this community because that seems to be a common thread throughout. It's very impressive. As somebody coming from the outside, it's throughout and it's very impressive.
Not only that, there have been changes made there, very, very positive changes.
I agree. Well, we support you if you get that.
Okay.
It's all yours, Chris.
So the last thing with Station 1 would be obviously, in the future, an expansion on the apparatus bay. Or a new station, or whatever the town might see fit in the future. The apparatus are basically from the front door to the back wall, and there's roughly 10 to 12 inches between the trucks, between the back wall and between the front door. So
Pretty jammed in.
there's not a lot of room for error. And the fact that we've gone as long as we have and haven't had any real major accidents within the station is pretty surprising. The ambulances, there's a little more room behind them, but then you have the gear racks for the guys and girls' gear, and it's tight. It's tight. So that's something to think about for the
The
future.
good thing is we have land there.
There's land, yes. There is. That would be great to see utilized. So then, for what I would say probably FY '20 or beyond, replacement of some apparatus. Forestry 2. Forestry 2 was an old highway dump truck that was turned into a forestry. It's done its job. It did its job with the highway department. It's done its job with the fire department. It's still doing its job, but it's slowly rotting out from under us. The rocker panels are pretty bad. The floors are getting bad, but it's still usable. It's not nothing that has to be run out and by tomorrow. It's there, but just needs to be thought about. Forestry 1's the same thing. It was a former highway vehicle that we were able to take, and we put a skid unit in it, which is just a pump on a platform that we could slide in. We did some tool mounting and stuff like that, but again, it's getting tired. Engine 3. Engine 3 is the oldest pump in the fleet. It was 1988. Still runs good. Pump still pumps good. Maybe in the future, the only thing, replacement would be nice, but, maybe just rehab it, go through the motor, repaint it, relight it, because the lights are old rotary lights that don't warn sufficiently enough. So rehab, replace, that could be talked about in the future. And then Ladder 1. Ladder 1's still a good truck, but, that's getting old too, and
How old is that one?
that's a 83.
We got that one used, didn't we?
Yes.
So they're like 35 years old.
Hmm.
Wow. I don't know.
Still runs like a top, and certifies every year to 106 feet, so.
Cool.
And I know there's a lot of people in town who say, what do we need a 106-foot ladder truck for? We don't have 10-story buildings. Well, if you want to come work in the fire service for a day and work a chimney fire where you're 106 feet from the chimney on a reach, it's a very nice tool to have. It's a lot safer than a ground ladder. It's a lot more comfortable to work off of than a ground ladder. It's a tool in our arsenal that I do not want to lose. It's a great piece of equipment.
Wasn't that donated to us and we just had to go through it and do whatever?
That was purchased by the Fire Association
It was purchased, okay,
and donated to the town,
okay.
yes. So the town just ended up putting some equipment on it and insuring it and all that stuff. So, yeah, and it really, there's been no issues with it since we got it.
I remember when we got it, and I always felt that, even though at the time, we weren't building the huge homes that we are now seeing in town, we have a number of 3 families.
Yeah,
And, I mean, having lived in one for many years, you know, I know how difficult it is if you had to get up there.
yeah. Yeah. So that's pretty much all I have, unless you have any questions.
That's it, huh?
That's it.
That's all.
I think, you know, we appreciate you coming in. I certainly think that's
Yeah,
a
no problem.
good, we get a good idea of what's going on down there, and I think you got high hopes. I don't know if that's the right word, but yeah, it's great.
All right.
So we'll just work with you
I appreciate it.
over the time and get you what you need to have a good.
Sure.
Why don't you just state who you are, so that.
Dan Higgins from Lincoln Avenue. And I was thinking more about the slowdown as opposed to the clogging and the cost of expanding it. But is it an unlimited use software license, or is it seat-based where we can only have a number of concurrent users? When I was wondering if maybe that's limited by the number of concurrent users, it might be some of that reason for the slowdown in accessing it.
No, not that I'm aware of it, and I'm not a computer guy, so to speak. But Sergeant Cronin, who runs it with the police department, hasn't stated anything as far as that goes, so I wouldn't think that it's that, no.
And I would think that the second you mentioned that it was slow, if it were a limited use thing, he would have said,
Right.
you know, it's
Right.
because there are too many people using it.
And he's been on the phone with IMC and TriTech IMC, just to resolve some issues that we were trying to work through. So I would think that if it was something like that they would have stated
Yeah.
something like that. So I don't believe it's that. I think it's just trying to get from my station to the police station and back and forth, you know, via the cable coax wires. And again, we haven't even talked about trying to communicate to Station 2.
Fire station.
Because that's another thing. So if we're gonna start using it to log personnel in, which is what I ultimately want to do, then the desktop at Station 2 would have to be tied in also. And that too with the phone systems, because right now there's a different phone line for Station 2 that's not even a 669 exchange than what's at Station 1. So it'd be nice to have Station 2 ring with the same phone lines as Station 1, so that way if the duty crew's up there doing something, they could still pick up the phone and vice versa.
Absolutely.
Space-wise, how's the North Station?
As far as like apparatus?
Like the Main Street station, it's tight. How do you feel about the North Station?
Station 2 has more room, but even with the addition we did, we're still tight. The older side of the station, which is circa 1910, 1900, trying to get a truck in there that we did for years is tight. So that basically, that side of the station is the smaller equipment, the car 3, which is the pickup truck with the plow, and the 2 forestries, because right now I can't leave forestry 1 at Station 1 because I don't have a heated space to put it in. So for the winter, we move forestry 1 to Station 2, so it's in a heated environment, so the pump doesn't freeze. Those fit into the station, but even those with the doors are tight. You know, those doors were horse.
Right,
It was a
exactly.
horse-drawn station
Yeah.
back in the day. So that's,
Is the
it's
solution.
a tight squeeze.
We're going back.
So,
Chief, is it all right?
Yes, state who you are, where you live.
Tom Berkman, Hunters Hill Drive. I'm sure you're aware that the SAFER, some of those grants for, I don't know if you have a grant writer or maybe that would help. I'm looking at it. That might help you with you're aware of that, yeah.
yeah, with building or renovating, or, yeah, it
I
could,
hear they gave out some money for equipment and personnel
right,
and staff.
right.
Is the addition at the north end just the ladder truck?
No,
You got-
in those 2 bays, there's Engine 1, Rescue 1, Forestry 3, and Ladder 1.
Oh, no.
So 1 bay has Engine 1 with Ladder 1 behind it, and the next bay has Rescue 1 with Forestry 3 behind it. because they basically won't fit in the other side. So, that's what it is. That's
Anything
it.
else? That's it?
That's good.
Appreciate
very
it. And
Tom,
we'll-
don't laugh. What are you laughing at?
and we'll be talking more, certainly.
All right. Thank you very
Chief,
much.
before you go, I totally understand some of these things, require going to town meeting, but if, I think we'll probably maybe have a meeting or we'll meet with Town Administrator Aaronstein. I think there are some things on here that don't need to go to a town meeting,
Yeah.
like the email, like things like that. So we'll try to figure out, I think, what can
Oh,
be done,
absolutely.
to not have to wait till.
Right, and like I said before here, we're operating right now with the way it is. There's really nothing that has to be, I don't expect anything to happen tomorrow. If it does, awesome. I'm not saying that you don't do it, but we're functioning and we can continue to function. It's just, I want it on the radar
Absolutely.
as something that should be done.
Absolutely, we appreciate it.
I think these
very much.
these communication issues seem to be pretty urgent, in my mind.
That, and I feel
I
like
think
those are the
those need to go to
things.
town.
That's something,
Correct.
I've been researching, network IT, that whole realm and how we can handle it and attack kind of some of the things that we can beef up a little bit. And, so that part of it's already going forward, and he's been included in these discussions, so. I agree. I agree that the communications bits can totally be done, without having to wait for a meeting, and they can be done cost effectively as well.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Chief.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
Have a good night.
You
Good
as
job.
well.
Okay. Town Administrator's Report.
My report tonight is very quick. I met with the police chief briefly on a few things, but my update tonight is just to give you a preview of what's to come. He's going to begin hiring 3 people to staff his department. One is replacement of a retiree, and 2 other posts are full-time. They're all full-time. And those appointments, once the sergeants screen them and provide their recommendation, the chief provides his recommendation, they'll be here before you for kind of a final interview and to be appointed by you. He has about 8, I think the number was, 8 or 9. So
8 or
you'll
9.
8 or 9 individuals that have put in for it. So they will, I don't know if he's going to send all 8 or 9. I don't think
We
he
should
did.
talk about that process, because we can talk about it in another meeting, but how do we want to do that?
You can talk about it now. It's on the agenda if
As
you
far as
want,
I'm-
or you can think about it.
What we've
Well-
done in the past with police is the chief, the sergeants and I'll call it the screening committee,
Right.
goes through everything, and the 2, 3, 1, whatever is the recommendations, that's who comes to the meeting. We haven't interviewed the individuals, it's all done.
I believe
in-house.
that's the same process he's talking about,
Yeah.
sending them up. So I just, I believe he's gonna send 3, but I don't wanna I don't wanna say that and handicap him in case there might be somebody that he wants to include as well, so.
But I think, yeah, as far as I'm concerned, he can,
His
he
recommendation.
can make the recommendation. He knows what a police officer
And,
does, and we don't.
Selectman Zagrafis, correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't we have him put in, working with the sergeants, they established a process for screening. We have open applications all the time. We'll take them anytime.
Absolutely.
And then it goes through the screening, whether it's the reserves or the regulars, and so there is a
Correct.
process. I remember
Right.
doing
I
that.
believe it's in the contract, no?
Probably is.
It's
Well,
somewhere.
I know there was an update also, because
Okay.
the last time we did some appointments.
And so I'm not speaking about the hiring of or recommendations of any officers for hiring, but I remember when Chief Michael McGee was the acting fire chief, when it came time to recommend someone for hire for the communications department, like a dispatcher full-time, both chiefs got together and did the interviews together, but I think they already had the finalists. So that screening process had already occurred, and I sat in on it and got to see the types of questions they asked. Yeah, so it's a good process.
Okay. Is that it?
That's it for me today.
Okay, old business, town administrator's job description. It's been revised somewhat, and I really haven't had a chance to look at it, so I would entertain a motion to,
Take it under advisement,
advisement.
Mr. Chairman.
that's when you want to.
Can I, before I second that, or make the motion rather, can I ask you just one question?
Yes.
Under duties and responsibilities, on the very last bulleted point on the first page, it says negotiates contracts involving any subject within his or her jurisdiction. Now, my understanding is that the Board of Selectmen negotiates. I have no issue if you want to be privy and come to all the, that's fine.
Nope,
If we
this
could
is-
just change the wording, like,
So I agree. I actually went to delete that, and then that's what was on the website. So I didn't want to take it out without, I don't like it in there either.
So I'm not sure what you mean.
But I didn't know, so this
We
would say I
negotiate.
would negotiate a contract within, like,
we're
say
basically
I,
giving her the authority to do it without us, like in the wording. I know you didn't, I know.
We're still gonna approve it.
so with this.
Correct.
With this particular bullet is, so pretend we had a billboard going up, and we could negotiate a community host agreement with them. And then I could sit down one-on-one with them, come to terms, and then bring it to you. Everything would be finalized. The next sentence in there, in this bulletin point, is these proposed contracts shall be subject to final approval and execution by the
Right.
selectmen. So it would require a vote anyway. I don't want this in here personally, but it's on your website, so I wanted you to be able to
Why
see
don't,
it
wait,
and
why
look
don't you
at it.
want it in there? That's what I'm having a hard time.
I don't think this specificity needs to be in the job description.
Okay.
If you-
I think it's implicit. I guess that's kind of why I brought it up.
Because I work on behalf of you, elsewhere in this, and it just sort of,
Or even if you just added like negotiates contracts with the Board of Selectmen involving any, like just like,
But I guess
it
what
just
I'm-
makes it sound like we're not involved in the negotiation.
Well, we
That's
not-
all,
we
and
not-
I know
we-
it's not
we-
your wording.
We might not necessarily be, though, if we delegate that to her on a specific contract. We don't all three of us, all four of us need to sit down and negotiate a contract.
I agree, but one of us should be present.
Okay, I'm,
Selectman Goulart, what do you?
Well,
My suggestion
Let's think
is
about it.
that, based on what she just said, is take it out, because we have that catch-all phrase that says, and any other duties as assigned.
let's take it under advisement.
Sure.
'Cause-
Yeah, I made the motion to take it under advisement.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Before you do that, the other thing I would say is, and I did talk to Mallory about this, this is too long. Too long. There's a lot of stuff in here that I felt was repetitious, and quite frankly, when I read that we expect the person to be honest, reliability, and I'm thinking, give me a break. I find that insulting. The person we hired is a professional person with the graduate degrees we need, and I think this is fine when it was written and put out there, but I think there's more stuff that can be reduced or incorporated, because there are references in here in several places to the same thing. So that's my only suggestion, is if we can get it down
I just
a
don't want
little
to get
bit
hung up
more.
on that kind of stuff, because it really doesn't change the meaning of the.
Well, and I also don't want to, as she talked about specificity, I don't want it to be the list of things, and if it's not on my list, I don't have to do it. That's why I said the disclaimer thing is the catch-all.
and that's why
That's
the
why it's
public
there.
can't see that, but it's the first thing. This is not intended to be an exhaustive list.
Exactly.
It's a cover, and I think that should be everywhere in every job description, just to protect the town. Because as everybody knows, we grow and change.
Yeah. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Take it under advisement. Okay, the meeting agenda policy. This will be the third and final reading. I guess we made no changes to it. since last-
We did,
Oh,
we
we
added
did.
Mr. Pyer's
Language.
language.
So
Thank
tonight
you.
is the third reading, but the vote is next week.
Correct.
Yeah, so what's that change again?
That change was under the policy section, the second sentence was
Oh, yeah.
clarified, and we use Mr. Pyer's language. Sorry for the plagiarism. This
Like
does
you've
not
done it
change
before.
the existing policy practices used by other boards, committees, or commissions that are presently utilized to comply with the requirement of the open meeting law. And I will say, just to comment on this policy's real point is, yes, to comply with the open meeting law, but to administratively provide a process so that we have a firm deadline on when to stop, when to compile an agenda, so that we do comply. So it's not meant to be in place of the open meeting law, it's not meant to do anything, it's just to coincide and administrate it.
And it's also intended to let the public know what we're going to be discussing.
Absolutely.
So, so if you're going to see it in time to make plans if you want to come down, so, okay. So I'll read it this time.
No, we can do that.
Okay, this is the policy, Board of Selectmen meeting agenda policy. Background, the Board of Selectmen hereby adopts a policy for posting agendas for its meetings to ensure compliance with the open meeting law promulgated by the Attorney General as a result of the 2009 Ethics Reform Bill. The purpose of the open meeting law is to ensure transparency in the deliberations on public policy is based. Selectmen meetings are subject to the open meeting law, the agendas for which are required to be posted at least 48 hours in advance. The purpose of this policy is to establish procedures that promote efficiency and transparency in governing and encourages civic participation at Selectmen meeting while ensuring compliance with the open meeting law. This policy shall apply to the Board of Selectmen meetings, excluding in cases of emergency. This does not change the existing practices used by other boards, committees, or commissions that are presently utilized to comply with the requirements of the open meeting law. All items to be discussed at any Board of Selectmen meetings will be submitted to the town administrator in ample time to allow the meeting to be posted not less than 48 hours prior to the meeting. Submission of items for Selectmen's meetings on Wednesday at 7:30 shall be submitted no later than 12:30 p.m. on Monday prior to the meeting. Any agenda item not received by the aforementioned deadline will be deferred until the next regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Selectmen. When holiday falls on a Monday, items for the Wednesday meeting shall be received by 12:30 p.m. on Thursday preceding the holiday. Prior to posting, the agenda will be approved by the Chairman of the Board of Selectmen. After an agenda has been posted, revisions or additions of unforeseen urgent items may be added to the agenda with the approval of the Chairman of the Board of Selectmen. Okay.
So I just wanted to remind the public that I believe we will be voting on this one or the other next week. So if you have, I guess, last minute concerns, comments, suggestions, contact us.
Okay, ratify the police chief's contract. What this is about is we had one figure that was incorrect in here. And
Correct, just
it is- it changes from, it was in there for $153 a week to $153 to $156, I think that's it.
Correct.
So that's what this is about, so. Anybody want to?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we ratify the contract with Robert McDonald, Chief of Police, effective July 1st, 2017.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay. Award the complete street sidewalk design and engineering services. Mr. Ferry is here. Why don't you step up and, so I don't have to read your letter. You can just tell us what it says.
Mr. Ferry, we've been working hard trying to get somebody to run for tree warden, but we haven't been
We're trying,
successful.
Tom.
You have the proposal?
Yep.
You want me to read it, or? Questions?
If you don't know what it says, then we got a problem.
We have an
So-
issue.
So as you know, last year we were working on complete streets, actually started the year prior, and we identified with a prioritization plan 3 priority projects. And prior to applying for the actual funding, which is approximately $400,000 through the state for complete streets, some of the administrative stuff, including what you guys may accept tonight,
Yep.
needs to be done that is not funded by that, and the town has already funded that on the last town meeting that we had.
So we got, how many streets here? We got
3 projects.
So,
3 projects.
so tonight, the bids for professional engineering and land surveying services and sidewalk improvement site plans for complete street sidewalk construction on Center Street, a portion of Center Street, Somerset Ave, and Pearl Street. We solicited 3 bids for these jobs, also asked them to bid on each street separately.
Okay.
3 firms that were asked to bid was GZA Engineering, Furlan Corp., and John Delano and Associates. GZA Engineering withdrew their bid, and John Delano and Associates was the lowest bid on all 3 streets. And I do recommend we use John Delano and Associates.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we award the following bids to John Delano and Associates the Center Street project, at bid price of $10,600.
Do you need to give me, do we need to vote to give me authority to sign these?
Well, when we finish I assume he's gonna second this, and then we get the whole thing done. All right. The Somerset Avenue sidewalk project, $9,300. And the Pearl Street sidewalk project, $8,500. And that, with the award, we authorize the chairman to sign the contracts.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I gotta tell you, I couldn't believe the variance in prices. I mean, 28.5 against what, $55,000?
It must be, I'm assuming that the other firm was hiring a surveyor, and that's what increased the overhead.
$50,300 against 28.4.
We compared them to see if maybe they were putting in a cost for something else, and we couldn't quite figure it out.
That is the reason why GZA backed out, because they would have to hire the surveyor.
Really, yeah.
Right, so John Delano, everything's in-house, that's where the savings is.
Okay,
Also, just for the public's benefit, these are the first 3 projects on the prioritization plan.
Correct.
thank you, Mr. Ferry.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ferry. You know, you're making more work for yourself. Now you got sidewalks to shovel.
Trees to cut.
Correct. Whew.
Okay,
Thank you for all that you do.
our next item is a request by the Board of Health for a formation of a stormwater committee. Mr. Powers, you want to address the board? Okay.
At least you're honest, Mr. Fires.
Do you need your letter also?
Without the committee, Tom, there is no stormwater
With the,
work.
Can have some stormwater on Friday, huh?
Sounds like a lot
I
of
guess
it.
you want me to read this, right?
Or you can read it or just summarize it. What do you want to do?
Board of Selectmen, subject creation of Stormwater Committee, dear Board. The 2016 Massachusetts Small MS4 General Permit was signed April 4th, 2016, and will become effective July 1st, 2118. That was moved up from 2017. The final permit reflects modifications to the 2014 draft small MS4 general permit released for comment on September 30, 2014, and replaces the 2003 small MS4 general permit for MS4 operators within the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. The 2003 one is the one we have been working on and updating annually. To go on with the request, since several departments have a responsibility to provide input for the final version of Dayton's MS4, Board of Health recommends a local stormwater committee be appointed by the Board of Selectmen. We also recommend the persons listed below be appointed to the newly formed committee. And I volunteered a few people on here, but we were seemed willing at the last informal meeting we had when we just kind of had a head brainstorming session, and we didn't know who was who at the time, so it wasn't really a formal meeting, but I've recommended Thomas Ferry from Dayton Highway, James Aguirre, Building Commissioner, Nancy Goulart from Board of Selectmen, Heidi Backey from Planning Board, myself from Board of Health, Todd Pilling from Board of Health, and Bill Frenette from Conservation Commission.
You obtain like everybody wants to be on the committee, right?
Well, the only one I didn't really ask was Bill Frenette,
That's fine,
but
that'll be
he
fine.
was,
He'll do,
you know, I know Bill very
He'll do it.
well, and
yeah, he'll do
so
it.
we're suckers for working for the town of Dayton
For free.
for free, that's right.
Now, is this
So anyway, that's my request, and since
Excuse
all
me.
parties mentioned play a role in development of the MS4, I thought it would be best for the town moving forward, instead of burdening the responsibility to one person, that we have, our next meeting is gonna be the 23rd, it'll be a formal meeting. And provide whatever input we have at the time, and I think it'll work well with a formal committee, and I'm quite certain that the DEP, I'm not, who has control now, DEP or
No, it's
EPA, they're still
EPA.
fighting over it?
Yeah, it's still EPA.
Okay, and we'll be pleased that Dayton has created a stormwater committee.
And this is not a limited time committee. This will be ongoing year after year after year.
Yes.
Or
But it may just not be
Yeah,
active.
generally,
if they're-
Oh, I
most
understand,
of the
but-
work will probably be in the first 4 months of
Okay.
each calendar year, but
And
it'll be ongoing during
This
the
year's a
year.
biggie because the whole permit is up.
Right.
It's gonna be
Correct.
done.
There'll be more work in the first 4 months, probably.
Yep.
But we plan on meeting once a month, at minimum, depending on what's going on, of course, and as with anything else, you do what you have to do to make it work, so. It depends, so the ball's in your court.
Somebody want to motion something?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to appoint, so actually, I rescind that. We should.
I'm not gonna make it.
No,
'cause
no,
I'm
I
on it.
know. Should we don't form the committee first, we
No,
just
no,
appoint them.
you should make the motion to appoint the
Right.
following people to the stormwater
Committee?
Committee.
Okay, thank you, Nancy, Selectman Goulart. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to appoint Highway Superintendent Tom Ferry, Building Commissioner James Aguirre, Selectman Nancy Goulart, Office Manager Heidi Baki, Board of Health Chairman Tom Pyers, Health Agent Todd Pilling, and Conservation Commission Member Bill Frenette to the newly formed Stormwater Committee.
second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
This was one of the recommendations that came out with the changes that are happening and all the things that we're trying to comply with, is that you have a committee.
I would recommend, I imagine there's plenty of time to get out the appointment letters so it can all be sworn in by our next meeting of the 23rd. And, you know, if not, people that show up to the meeting on the 23rd, we can all be sworn in as a group. And that might even work better, you know, instead of everybody.
When are you going to meet, on what day? What day is it?
23rd is,
23rd.
23rd.
It's a Wednesday?
It's Tuesday?
No, it's going to be a daytime meeting,
Oh, okay.
probably
That's
9 a.m.
Okay.
Is that a Tuesday or a Wednesday?
It's a Tuesday.
I'm not sure what it
It's a
is.
Tuesday.
I was just concerned if it's at night, if somebody be there to swear in versus a daytime meeting, shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
No, most of us are available during the day, and it seems like Wednesday night, I mean, we got people that go all over the place with these Wednesday night meetings, so everybody's got 9 different hats on, so it gets a little busy.
Another title for Mr. Ferry, he's gonna have to get another door.
Yeah. No, he called me up and wanted to serve.
No,
Yeah, he volunteers for a
he's
lot of
not
things like
remembering it that way.
Yeah.
But you remember being appointed, which is the
I'm,
important part.
that. Okay, you can stay right there.
That's, is it, am I
The
up
other
next
thing
again?
I would just mention, at that same meeting when this discussion took place, we each had some assignments, and the educational program in this whole thing is the sticky wicket. So we're in the process of setting up a meeting with Dr. Zhu through the regional school district. She's the superintendent for the curriculum. I've spoken to Thelma Murphy at the EPA. I've talked to Serpent, and all of the contacts that had to be made have been made. So we're moving ahead in other areas. This committee will be able to do all this.
Thank you very much, Chairman Pyers.
Okay,
You're in the hot
the
seat.
next is a full-time hire for the Board of Health, Office Manager.
Yeah, the board did,
Oh, you need a letter for that, Tom?
no, not really.
Can I have the other one back,
We,
please?
I'm starting to think you may not have written this a little bit.
Yeah, I need the,
yeah, we,
no, not that one, the other one with the names.
oh,
Thank you.
we posted in-house, per contract, because we felt we had qualified people, within town hall. If not, we would have gone outside. We did receive one applicant, for the position. That applicant has been doing the duties and responsibilities of the position now for going on a year. And on December 13th, we sat down and reviewed her resume and other qualifications pertinent to the assignment, and we we felt that the individual indeed was qualified. Rosalind Grassi, present office manager with the Board of Health. The only thing I would request for your consideration is that instead of the appointment being effective January 28th, that the appointment be effective February 4th. And the reason being is that we don't believe that the zoning board is going to be ready with a applicant, with that person given a 2-week notice by the 28th. So we wanted to move it out a week. We are in the process, on another matter, but related. I've been doing the interviews with Ken Pacheco. He had 6 applicants. We have one more interview to do, which hopefully will be tomorrow, and we can move forward and have our second round. We have some very good people that have applied, and but I just don't think we'll be ready by the 28th, and we wanted to fill these positions both at the same time, to make it a better transition. So that's my only request,
Make
that
that adjustment.
number one, you consider our recommendation, and that be effective on February 4th.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Are you accepting motions, or are you
Yeah.
thinking?
No,
Okay.
I'm
All right,
I'm
Mr.
waiting.
Chairman, I make a motion to appoint Ms. Rosalind Grassi to the position of Office Manager of the Board of Health effective February 4th, 2018.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Board.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Chairman
Myers.
Pius.
Okay. We have another full-time hire for the Board of Assessors Office. And this is a recommendation from Carolyn Borga. It's actually addressed to town
It
administrator.
is, so I can
Address
take
it,
this.
yeah.
So she has had a vacancy in the assessor's office. She's conducted interviews, actually she was doing them my first week. So she has made this recommendation to hire Lisa Tetro. She does have experience, municipal experience in the assessor's office in Berkeley, and also the building department in Berkeley, but for this says 6+, but the way it was explained to me was 6 years' experience. Because it is a clerical union position, it's coming before you for appointment and ratification. The only item in this one is that Ms. Beauregard is requesting that we, the town of Dayton, recognize the 6 years of service and start the individual at step 2, which would, what this triggers is 15 days vacation for the individual. It would be prorated for the end of the fiscal year. She would still need to complete the probationary period, which is a period of 6 months. However, that would be her benefit upon successful completion of that. So the board does need to weigh in on that. There has been, I did a little digging, no one really that we could compare this same situation to find anybody that had been hired with municipal experience and whether or not that had been recognized by the town. So this would be your decision tonight. Am I making sense?
No, oh yeah, I was just listening, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I mean, I support it. It only makes sense. I mean, because she has that experience. I think one thing we want to do is document this well, though, so it doesn't become a past practice where anybody would come in with any kind of municipal
Assumption.
experience. It would only be municipal experience that's
Relevant.
directly related to the
To
position.
the position they're applying for.
Right, right.
I'll make the motion to appoint Lisa Tetro to fill the full-time position in the assessor's office as recommended.
Second.
So what do we need to do to make sure this doesn't become, we need to document that somehow?
Well, any individual that is filling a post in the union would come before you regardless, because they're a collective bargaining
Right.
unit.
No,
So you'd have the final say, but if you'd like to put something down on paper so that this is a special exemption, or that service that the town will only recognize service that is directly related to
Yeah.
the role, something
Yeah, we
like
should
that,
do
we can
something
do
like
that.
okay.
Would you like to do a policy on that? Or,
Yeah, that's
For the
probably a good
next-
idea. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. Hearing date for Class 2. automobile license. And this, I'll just say what it is. This is an application from Jay Levitt and Keith Gunderson to have their business at 100 William Street in Dayton. It's in North Dayton, actually, and it's right across from the Manheim Auto auction. So we need to establish a date to have this hearing for Class 2 motor vehicle license.
Is there some sort of language as to, from the date you get this application, you need to hold a hearing within, X days or something?
As far as I know for class 2, no, it just looks nice if the board accepts something and takes action. I think generally it's accepted 45 days. Within 45 days, you have to take action, but technically this is taking action,
Right.
scheduling the
So
hearing.
why don't we, why don't we schedule a hearing for next week?
Right.
I mean,
And-
should
But
be
is
better.
is that too little
Well,
time for the
Usually
applicant?
we need 2 weeks for notification in the
Okay.
paper and all of
Yep.
that.
Okay.
But the building inspector's here if you want to share some comments on.
Typically, before the board sets a meeting date, the fire department and myself go out, check the
Okay.
facility to make sure it's appropriate. We have done the inspection. It's a nice facility, so it'll actually suit well.
So you guys are all set with it
We're all
then?
set, we've been there, yep.
Do we know the name of it?
Yeah, it's gonna be, doesn't have a name on it.
I don't know, I just know the individuals.
Yeah, I'm looking at names and,
Right,
it's not like ABC, whatever.
yeah, I don't know. It wouldn't-
Jay Levitt, Keith
not
Gunderson.
required for my inspection, but I
Yeah,
think it needs to be on the application. It's on there.
it's not on, there's no spot
Is
for
this
it.
is this the only piece of the application, is just one page?
I don't know, it's the
I'll
first
check
time
with
I've seen one
Karen.
of these.
We'll make
Yeah,
sure
check with
that-
Karen.
There's much more to it, I'll show you.
So when,
Yeah.
so why don't you work out the timeframe?
It's easy to sell cars here. That's-
And then we'll schedule it after it's all set. Okay.
Thank you.
Declaration of surplus radio equipment.
Just-
Barry, you want to talk about this at all, or?
I can talk about it. This came up at the department head meeting, that there was some surplus equipment. The board requested that it be listed. He had it on him actually that day, so I've given that to you. The items collectively amass to about $200 to $300 in value. There is a belief that we could sell them. So the board would need to recognize these items as surplus, declare them as such, and vote to dispose of them in the best interests of the town.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Is this the stuff you talked to us about, or do you have other stuff?
That was the stuff I brought up at
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Have we pretty much gotten rid of all the junk we had hanging around here, there, and everywhere, computer parts and things?
Yes, miscellaneous stuff, yes. There is some equipment I will be collecting, and hopefully the other departments will do it in a timely fashion and consolidate it. Mallory has some ideas how to dispose of that stuff.
I have some Selectmen rule out, but I'm holding on to them until we move. I don't want to dispose of anything until we get the facility next door.
At one time, one of the restrooms downstairs had a ton of stuff. I mean, it wasn't even used for a restroom, I
Oh, we
don't
just
think.
took the filing cabinet out of there. We're repurposing this week.
Today. Yeah.
Okay. Next,
Veterans office, storage room to the flags in there.
Working on it.
Just Christmas
Well, it's just
decorations, Tom.
Multitasking, I guess, multi-purpose.
okay, the next order of business is a proposal from CGE Engineering for concrete testing at the new police station. And this is from CGE. The rate is $70 an hour, portal to portal, and 55 cents per mile. And this is just it's like an as needed. If something comes up that they need to do some additional testing, this company will be available to do that at the police station, so.
The only question I had was, it's not part of the original contract?
I skimmed through the contract and couldn't find it, so evidently it wasn't. Typically, there is some testing parameters within the contract, but that doesn't seem to be part of it.
But they're already doing testing. I think this is just
I've been receiving all the reports.
if something else comes up that they need, I think that's what this is. So this might not amount to anything.
But aside from this, when you're structurally speaking, aren't there tests that have to be done on concrete to make sure?
On that particular construction site, yes. Not on all construction sites, but
Okay.
that construction site, commercial facility type of building, yes, there are testing requirements.
But that testing is in the contract, that testing.
It may be, but the contract's pretty thick. so
Yeah, I know.
you know,
I believe,
Very
from
thick.
talking to them, I believe it
It's
is.
like
This is
5
just
pounds.
if they need to do some additional testing.
Right. I don't know, to answer your question, I don't know exactly what that's for.
Okay.
I didn't get an answer on anyone specifically.
Mhm.
But there is some testing in the contract.
Right.
I just don't know exactly.
I was thinking of when they built the City Hall in Fall River over the interstate, and the supports had problems, that's all. Thank you.
Does this, I guess my question for you, and I know we both skimmed it, does this gels with the contract, right?
It does check
Okay.
with the contract. Yes. I just couldn't find it implicated
Yeah.
in the contract.
This actually, this request came from Taylor McDonald at Pomeroy Associates, who's the project manager.
Is
Correct.
there any kind of a dollar limit on this?
I don't know, I wasn't privy to any of that information, if there was, you know, testing is as needed. If there's problems with some of the materials, then testing will reoccur. And in some cases, things will be replaced.
Right.
I don't foresee that happening, but it is possible.
But that would be taken up in their contingency amounts and that kind of stuff.
Yes, change that.
Okay. Entertain a motion? We need a motion? Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do. So moved.
And this is to authorize, I'm sorry, I'll second that.
Okay, you also
This
need
is
Did we
to
say
authorize-
authorize up to X dollars, and then if it gets to X dollars, first of all, we don't anticipate much testing, but if it gets to X dollars, there's a flag.
With a $300,000 contingency on the project, I would
think we
advise
are aware of
the
that.
ceiling on it. No, I
What
would.
did you say?
With only a $300,000 contingency, it might be wise to put a ceiling on it.
Yeah, I don't know if we're in a position to do that, because we don't,
But they could come back again, that's my point, Jack. If we initially say approve up to X, and they start getting
Yeah, I know what
near
you're saying,
X,
right.
then the question is, how much further is it gonna go? But then they could come back and say, we need a,
With more explanation as to why.
exactly, that's my concern. I don't wanna give them an open-ended
I
contract.
agree with you.
You get any idea
But
what
don't you
kind of
think-
money?
but can I,
Sorry?
I mean, I just have a point though, don't you think that that's the role of the,
Police station
of the
building
police
committee.
station building committee?
Well,
They're gonna keep track of this, if
the-
it starts to get out of
no,
control.
no, no.
they're
The Board of Selectmen has to authorize it. Yes, the committee should track it, but the control over it belongs here. And if we set a initial dollar limit, because we're not expecting to spend a lot of money, but if we start approaching that, that's a clue, it's a flag. And the building committee will say, wait a minute, this is what's happened. Now you're saying you're getting close to it and you need more money. What are you anticipating? What are we talking about? It's, all it is a flag.
I know, but, okay.
Mr. Chair,
They need to, go ahead.
was that submitted to you with a cover letter from the police station building committee? Has it gone through them?
I don't know.
I don't see
Karen
anything
will
at
know.
all.
I also am wondering, because in the first paragraph it says, as requested, CG is proposing yada yada. Who requested it?
I'm sure the
Probably,
building committee
Yeah.
or Pomeroy.
or Pomeroy.
I'm not in a position to authorize or condemn, but the committee should.
Can we table this and
Should
get?
we take it under advisement and run it by the building committee and see, they should recommend, first of all, to us whether or not we should do it, but also let them know that the question came up about, should there be an initial dollar limit so that the building committee can say, wait a minute, the flag just went up, you're getting too close to the number. Because we've all said, we don't expect to spend a lot of money on doing this, but if we start spending money, it's time to say, wait a minute.
Do you know, is this where they test the different concrete to make sure it was all poured and
It's
when there's a problem?
It's
'cause-
for compressive strength, durability strength, et cetera, et cetera. It has to meet certain
Exactly,
parameters from ASTM,
Right.
and this is to ensure it's a third-party testing
that's
agency.
right. And when
my
it fails, they have to go back and do it again.
But my understanding is that's in the contract. This is in addition to that, if they need to do some testing, additional testing that's not covered by the
And I
contract.
think the building committee needs to address it
I
and
agree.
explain why it might be needed.
Well, the other thing too is, they would have to address all change orders. I realize this isn't a change order, but this is a new ka-ching.
Close.
Lead to a change order.
It's close, yeah.
I'm gonna make a motion that we take this under advisement and that Mrs. Aaronstein contact the building committee for further discussion and a recommendation to the board. on this request.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Before we vote, there's always a discussion.
Okay.
It says
It's hard.
here, CGE Engineering, Inc. may render opinions of probable construction costs for the purpose of evaluating alternative concepts, designs, or systems. Can't we just contact them and ask them what they think it'll cost?
I'll do some research on this,
Yeah,
because
it should-
I want to
agree
know
with Jim. It
who
should
requested it
come
and
to
all
the
that.
building committee.
Yeah, no matter what happens, building committee should be involved with every expenditure on that project.
Should be a cover letter.
Exactly.
Great.
And Mr. McDonald should have gone to them
Right.
before this came to us.
Yeah, I mean, I know they're communicating, it's not like, but I would agree we need to formalize it,
Yeah.
because he doesn't do anything without talking to the building committee. Okay, do we have any correspondence? No. Okay, announcements, annual town election information.
I think
Do
it's
we
on
have
that,
that?
well,
Yeah,
I
I
think
don't
it's
have it here.
attached to your, oh, you don't, maybe because they're in my packet.
It's just an announcement of the positions.
So if we announce that the nomination papers are available at the town clerk's office, and is it on the website?
It will be on the
The
website.
announcements are right here, you don't have
No,
them?
no, no, we're talking about.
No, it's not for
we're talking about
the
The
town
list of
elections.
vacancies.
Oh, give me 1 second.
No, wait a minute, I think we can just cover it this way, Brett. The nomination papers available to the clerk, also the positions are posted on the clerk's, right outside the clerk's office, and we've read this 3 times or 4 times already, so I think we're good for now.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
And the date of the town election is
April
April
7th.
7th, the first Saturday in April.
2018.
Yep.
7 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Okay. Do we have any selectmen reports?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, last Saturday morning, 11 o'clock, the Bristol County Advisory Committee met at the Aggie School to take action on the proposed building expansion and renovation. We attained a quorum, and the percentage of vote in favor, which caused it to pass.
Can I just ask you to explain what your role in that is?
Oh, excuse me. In a county, unlike a town, there aren't county meetings of everybody that lives in the town to approve, especially financial matters. So in a county, there is a financial, it's an advisory board, similar to a finance committee. It's just called the Bristol County Advisory Board. Every community in the county is allowed to send a representative, actually is required to send a representative, an elected person unless otherwise designated by the Board of Selectmen, who is not an elected official. Each community has a weighted vote. Obviously, Dayton and Berkeley, being the smallest communities, have the smallest weighted vote at 1.34 and 1.55 respectively. So we attained a quorum shortly after 11:15 on Saturday morning, and there was a presentation made by the county commissioners talking about the proposed expansion renovation. Total amount of that project is $103,750,000. And we're looking at a term of borrowing up to 30 years, but it could be less. They don't have all that worked out yet. And the option that they're looking at, because they had a number of options on what to do, is option C. And briefly, option C means that when you are standing in front of Gilbert Hall, with Gilbert Hall, that's the old high school, behind you, and you're looking up the driveway that goes up towards the animal barns, to the left of the current driveway, there is a big grassy area. That's where they intend to build a 3-story science classroom building. It will also have facilities for cafeteria and things like that. Once those students move into that building, other reconstruction, the existing high school, the old building, will be gutted, and it will be completely renovated into modern classroom space, and it will meet all of the building codes for fire safety and everything else. There are some other areas on the campus that will be renovated. There is some other demolition proposed. They're planning to build a new cow barn, which is right now the red plaid building that we all know as the Cabot Cheese barn. That's going to be replaced. The motion, so anyhow, the presentation was made, And before the vote was taken, Superintendent Sands got up and talked about some of the accomplishments at the Aggie School. And one of the things that stood out that I found was really remarkable is, in this entire country, that school has the #1 pre-vet high school program. That's remarkable. That's available to, obviously, all of the children in Bristol County that may be interested, but they also take tuition students. So anyhow, a roll call vote was called, and it was a simple majority of those present and voting, and the project was approved 42.74%, and there was only one no vote, and there was only one abstention. So the next step is, now that the communities in the county have voted and approved this, the legislature will now be sent documents that they will have to act on, because the county can only borrow with a vote of the House and Senate. So it's moving on. The paperwork, the votes were certified, and so as representatives to the advisory board, for the present time, our job is done. Normally, we meet once a year and review their budget, but this obviously was a big issue, and thank goodness it passed. And I just want to mention in passing, we had to reorganize the board because the mayor of Attleboro was not reelected, and he had served as chairman for over 14 years. So the new chairman of the advisory board is Selectman Joe Pacheco from Rainham, who had served about 12 years on the board. I was reelected the clerk, and Selectman Gil Ponce from Berkeley was appointed the new member to the executive board. And I just kind of chuckled, because I point out the two smallest communities in the county actually hold 2 of the 3 seats. So we were very happy with that. And so anyhow, it was a very good meeting, well attended.
Good, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to thank Selectman Goulart for all her work. She dedicates a lot of time, and it's a fruitful project. I've been part of it, Ferry has. Hopefully we can see it through to fruition, but I want to thank you for all your hard work on that.
You're welcome. And I just want to mention also, all through this whole process, since I was contacted about going to meetings and all that, I had asked Mr. Aguirre, Mr. Ferry, and Kahal O'Brien to attend as many of the meetings as they could, because I felt that their expertise in their areas were certainly not areas I'm into. And I really relied on them to either tell me, ask this question, or this needs to be checked into, or we're going to raise this issue. So I really appreciate the help that I got. And I did mention it at the meeting. I want to thank, as I called it, the contingency from Dayton, I think I referred to as, all of them that came and supported this whole thing. And just one other thing I want to mention. The Westport Selectmen, who was involved with these votes to establish the reorganization of the board, is Craig Dutra. That's a cousin to Mr.
Did you?
No,
Oh.
Mr. Pius.
Oh, really?
And Craig Dutra grew up in Dayton, then eventually moved to Westport, and he was my first paper boy when I came to town. But in any case, there was a little Dayton connection there, too. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you. We didn't finish all the announcements, I guess, so I'll start. We should just record this, and turn it on every meeting. Trash bags, sharps disposal containers, and recycling stickers are all for sale at the Board of Selectmen's office. Call 508-669-6431 for more information. And the vacancies still exist on Open Space, Historical Commission, Land Use Committee, and Capital Outlay Committee. And I really hope someone will step forward and get on those.
Or we're just going to start picking people and
we
discriminating.
might have to, because the ones I'm very familiar with is the Open Space and Land Use Committee, and they have such a potential impact on what our town is going to be. And if you want to have some control over what the town's going to look like as far as open space or recreational space, people need to step up and get on those committees, because they're the ones that make the recommendations that really are going to make a difference in what our town looks like. So if you have an interest in that stuff, we sure would like your help. Okay. Senator Mark Pacheco will be holding 2 upcoming senior health and wellness fairs. Representatives from state and local senior agencies will be in attendance to provide information on senior health programs, benefits, and wellness activities. Excuse me. Blood pressure, glucose screening, and flu shots will be offered. First one is Tuesday, January 16th, and that'd be from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Roseland Ballroom, 174 Broadway, Taunton. That's Hong Kong City Restaurant up above that. And the second was Friday, January 19th, from 10 to 4 at the Middleborough Town Hall in 10 Nickerson Ave in Middleborough. To confirm attendance, please call his district at 508-822-3000. And we'll have this up here if anybody needs information. Dog licenses are available. Mass General Law requires that all dogs 6 months of age be licensed. Applications were included with your census, so if you have a dog 6 months or older, please get your license in. Please complete the return of your census even if no changes have occurred or no changes needed. For assistance, you can call the town clerk's office. This is very, very important that this information get sent back in. It determines a lot of things, how many precincts we have, what the boundaries are, and all that kind of stuff. So, very important. So even if you have no changes on it, return it so they can confirm that we're
The weighted vote for the committee
The
at the
weight-
county level.
Yeah,
It's all based
right.
on population.
Right. So very important. Okay. Any acknowledgements? None.
No acknowledgements.
We got a couple of minutes to approve. Somebody wants to make a
you.
motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the minutes of the special meeting of January 5th, 2018, and the minutes of the regular meeting of October 4th, 2017.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I'll just mention the meeting on January the 5th, that was the fastest meeting in history that we
Oh,
had.
yes. 2
1
minutes.
minute,
2 minutes.
we zipped right through it. The purpose of the meeting was prior to our meeting, the Conservation Commission took action on the money needed to acquire Council Oak 2, and the Board of Selectmen had to vote to act on their request to be allowed to do it. And so all that took place, and the closing is the 12th of this month. And then I think Mrs. Aaronstein's going to be looking at the information to get leases and things like that. So that project's moving ahead too.
Woo! Right.
Lots of
It's
work.
a great day to get that.
Say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I move that warrant 28A-18 in the amount of $88,376.23 payroll. Warrant 28B-18 in the amount of $88,240.64. And warrant 28C-18 in the amount of $149,573.50, the last two being accounts payable, be approved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Any further discussion? If none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, we're going to go into executive session now. So I will need a motion. You want to read it? You want to make the motion?
Yeah, I'll make the motion. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to enter executive session under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on bargaining or litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares. And 6, to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real estate if the chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye. Roll call.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And we will not be going back into open session, so y'all got to leave now. Thanks,
Except
Cable.
Tom, except-
Thank you very
Stay.
much, public and our building commissioner and highway superintendent. You guys are the best.